Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. What's poppin', Rick?
What's up?
Hopefully you enjoyed your Super Bowl. I know if you are a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you did not enjoy the Super Bowl. If you are a Rams fan, one of the few, congratulations, I guess. I'm kind of interested to see when. Do you know when that parade is? Is that today?
I think it would be tomorrow.
Okay,
or maybe it is today.
I'm kind of curious. I want to see. They have no fans.
I know.
So,
they literally have no fans.
Like, is it going to be like when LeBron won the championship in Miami?
It might be.
And there was like 20 people there? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it probably will. I don't think LA is going to be going crazy for the Rams.
Even like, so I'm trying to remember. Was the Bucks was a boat parade, so it's not even like you couldn't tell.
Yeah. I mean, the Bucks. Yeah, you couldn't really tell. They had an okay amount, but it wasn't like crazy.
Because they're also
kind
of like they have like some crazy fanatic fans, but they're not like, there's a very fair weather base as well.
I would say they're better than the Rams, though. If the Rams were still in St. Louis, it would be totally different. But it's just LA. People in LA don't care.
I'm curious to see. That's the case. I've heard like the Lakers, they have like, they tied for most championships in NBA history.
Yeah,
and their fan base is the
Lakers
most
fans are
flaky of all the fan bases. Like when the Lakers suck,
yeah,
no one cares about the Lakers. It's like over. Here, where we live in Boston, if the Celtics suck, they sell the stadium out. People are still cheering. They could win 10 games, and they're all in.
The green team is.
That's all we got here in Boston is sports. So. It's miserable in the cold.
That's kind of why.
I love it. Love the cold.
The cold is great until it's not.
I walked outside today. It was like 60 degrees 2 days ago. Legit 60 degrees.
I know. It was a beautiful day.
I walked out this morning to take my garbage out. And I opened the door and my face like became an ice cube instantly.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to leave to work today.
It's like 7 degrees out.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm complaining, and there are people listening to this podcast in Canada being like, yeah, whatever.
I know.
So anyway, but welcome to the podcast. We have some interesting stuff to get to today. We're not here to analyze the Super Bowl, even though the halftime show was top-notch. We are going to provide you, now that we're officially in the offseason, I guess, everyone's here.
Yep.
Finally, the Bengals and Rams made it. So we are officially into the offseason for the NFL. But with that being said, we have been in the offseason for fantasy football for about a month already. And we're going to go into the 2021 season for the next couple weeks and go through some consistency of different players. And we're going to talk about today the top 5 most consistent quarterbacks in fantasy football from the 2021 season. We'll talk about what they did, how they did it, what the numbers are, and if we think this, if a repeat of this performance is going to happen, and it's something you should take into 2022. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Before we do that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the social media platforms. Just check us out on there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, be sure to leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button right now. Just hit the like button and then say, we love you in the comments, and ask any questions you may have in the comments. That helps us grow the wonderful base of subscribers that we have for the Fantasy Champions. There's one guy that keeps commenting on our stuff that we should stop posting content in the off season because we need to get jobs.
We do have jobs.
I don't know anything about this particular guy, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that we both probably make more money than him if he's spending his afternoons watching fantasy football YouTube videos and leaving hate comments.
Maybe.
Me and Rick sit down for like 3 hours a week, and it really should only be like an hour because we just kind of like talk for 2 hours.
Talk about football.
Yeah.
Just anything.
So we waste a lot of time, but this show doesn't even take that much time.
No, it really doesn't.
For us to actually record. The prep process is a little long, but yeah, so it's not something that we're like sitting there spending. We quit our full-time jobs.
Yeah, we
to go
pursuing
record a
the
podcast
dream.
Yeah, I would if you guys subscribed.
Yeah, I would too.
I would too.
Yeah, I'd probably do that.
I don't even have a job. I'm a self-employed contractor.
So see, he's right. Go get a job at Wendy's.
Go get a job, you lazy. When do people say that? So here's my real question. When the political news stations put out reports about unemployment, would you consider me unemployed? Would I be a part of the unemployment number?
No, you wouldn't.
Okay,
I don't think
right.
so. I don't think so. Could be wrong though.
Could be wrong. I don't know what they considered in that number.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Sometimes I think they just make numbers up and we just listen to them.
That's probably what it is, to be honest.
But anyway, so yes, subscribe to the podcast, like, comment, do all that good stuff. We are going to bring you today the consistent quarterbacks. Rick, before we do that, let's just spend like 2 minutes. I'll set a timer on my phone and we'll talk about. Hold on a second.
Oh.
I thought the Patriots were actually signing.
Oh yeah, I got that notification too.
I thought we were signing a coach, but anyway, I'm set. I got a timer going for 2 minutes. So give me your thoughts on the Super Bowl.
It was a good game. It showed Aaron Donald's dominance. Cooper Kupp, Super Bowl MVP. I think he deserved it. It was kind of sad to not see Burrow win the Super Bowl. That kind of would have been fun, but yeah, it was a good game. I think the refs did kind of screw the Bengals a little bit, but they had their chance, and Zach Taylor was an idiot. So, yeah.
Some hard-hitting questions.
Okay.
What kind of diet do you think 50 Cent has?
I think it's probably the Ezekiel Elliott diet, but add pizza.
Okay, got you.
Chick-fil-A and pizza.
The other question is, how long do you think
Chinese
they
food.
had him upside down in that house?
He was probably losing his mind there for a minute. If you're upside down for a while, that starts to get to you.
Matt Stafford, future Hall of Famer? No, I agree. Cooper Kupp, best receiver in the NFL.
Numbers wise, yes.
In league history.
No.
Yeah, no. Samaje Perine running on third down.
Cut him. Yeah, Zach Taylor's an idiot.
Yeah, I did like the Super Bowl. Hated that the fact that the referees felt like, because earlier in the game you had that really bad no call.
The Higgins touchdown.
That got the touchdown for the Bengals, and I was waiting for a makeup call. I just didn't think it was going to be one to decide the whole game.
Yeah.
My big thing with that is that most of the game, they were about 98% of the game they spent not calling anything, and then including that blatant like pass interference call. And if they were going to do it, they should be consistent and not call that. But if you go back and watch that in past 2 minutes, but when you go back and watch that final possession for the Rams, they had at least 7 shots to score a touchdown. And they were third and long, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, something like that on the goal. And they would have had to kick a field goal or go for it. I honestly don't think they would have won the Super Bowl without that holding call. And then I tweeted on my Twitter, if you go and watch the video, I don't know if you saw it, Rick, but prior to the holding call on the Bengals linebacker, half of the offensive line.
Oh yeah,
moved.
I've seen this
before the snap of the ball. This is not like one of those edited videos. This is legit, just a straight video. Like if you recorded it in the Super Bowl in your DVR, if you have one of those.
This is what it would have looked like.
That it literally it's whew. So there should have been a false start. That would have made it like 3rd and 22. Really, really not great for the officials. If you wanted a makeup call, fine. But
get a pass interference.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was a really bad end to a.
I mean, that's probably what they figured was the makeup call. I mean, there's been worse calls though. If you look back in NFL history, because like he did kind of hold on to him. It was just the fact that they hadn't called anything and it wasn't egregious.
But that shouldn't really even have been like. It's funny because that shouldn't even have been a conversation. It should have been false start.
Right.
So.
Should have been false start in the first place.
Anyway, I do think the Bengals probably, because the big thing is that you can't really make an argument for the Rams. Like if that holding call doesn't happen, they go to 4th down. So the question is, on 3rd and long with 3 timeouts left and Aaron Donald and that defense, right? Do you just kick the field goal?
No, you go for it. You absolutely go
so
for
if you go for it, what are the chances on 3rd and long that they score a touchdown?
It would have been 4th down, right?
Yeah, 4th and long.
It was at the 8, was it?
No, it was like the 12 or 14. 12
oh, the 12?
Yeah, somewhere like that. That's why I'm like, they probably would have kicked the field goal.
Very low percentage.
So,
it was under 2 minutes, so like you would think they have to.
Do you think that had that T. Higgins play not happened, what are the chances of the Bengals scoring a touchdown or a field goal on that drive?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's likely enough that they scored. But, I mean, at the same time, the Bengals offense wasn't great all game, so you don't really know.
So it's like everyone makes the argument of, like, who screwed who. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like the Bengals had all this opportunity to score on that first drive, and we don't know what would have happened on the whole drive had Higgins, they called the pass interference call or whatever. That probably would have obviously killed the drive. But, I don't know. It was an interesting little situation, but I hate when the refs get involved. I'm like, if you wanted to make up the call, do it later in the game, or do it earlier in the game, like 3rd quarter. And then don't throw any more flags. Like, don't be a part of the Super Bowl. And now everyone's talking about how that... Because, like, I'm thinking, like, you go back and you watch this on some kind of, like, Super Bowl recap thing. They always throw those videos out for the team. And so when NFL Films recaps this game, they're going to try really hard not to show the 7 plays prior where there's 4 flags.
Yeah,
on that last drive.
True.
They're gonna make it look like it was like, oh, Cooper
They're just
Kupp
gonna go to the
touchdown.
Cup ends. Yeah, at the goal line.
It's not like they didn't give them 8 shots to try. So anyway,
to be fair, then the Rams did score twice because they scored the first touchdown to Cooper Kupp.
Yep,
and he got hit in the head, and then there was 2 penalties on that play, so then they had to do it again. But
they did score twice. But not taking anything away from the Rams. I just don't like when refs get involved. So anyway, Super Bowl thoughts in 5 minutes instead of 2.
I knew it was going to be more than 2.
All right, so let's jump into the consistency chart. I saw a report about Odell. He did tear his ACL. They're doing surgery.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Ian Rappaport tweeted something 5 seconds ago, and I thought it was relevant to anything.
Oh.
Anyway, so we're going to get into the top 5 most consistent quarterbacks from the 2021 fantasy football season. And we'll start off. Should we go 5-1 or 1-5?
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like everyone knows. I would say 5-1, but I feel like everyone knows who.
Yeah. We'll just do 1-5. So the number 1 guy on the consistency chart from last year is Josh Allen. We talked about Josh Allen prior. I think on our recap of the season show, we gave Josh Allen fantasy QB of the year.
Yes.
For the second straight year, Josh Allen finishes as the quarterback 1. He had 15 games. So to qualify this, A, you have to play in 12 games or more. Mm-hmm. And B, you have to score 15 or more fantasy points to have a quality or great game, which would make you consistent on a week-to-week basis. So these are the amount of, basically the percentage and the number of games that I'm going to give you is the amount of games and a percentage of how many games they had, if that makes sense, of games where they had a really good or great performance, which is 15 points or more. And Josh Allen did that 15 times at an 88% clip, which is actually kind of low compared to last year. I think the highest one was like 94% last year.
Was that also Allen last year, or was it someone else?
It was either Allen or Mahomes.
Yeah.
But and then he only had 2 bust games, which is less than 15 points per game. So he
really
had
dominant year.
A spectacular season. Does he repeat it? That's the real question.
I think we've said this before, but it's hard enough to repeat it twice. I remember one of the years Mahomes was QB1. You're like, well, it just rarely happens in history. And then the next year he finishes like QB4 or something. Yep. And Allen was able to do it. He was able to finish as a QB1 twice. The odds of you finishing as the QB1 3 years in a row is even lower. Yeah. So I'm going to guess no. So I was able to pull up Fantasy Football Calculator. They do now. They've updated for 2022.
Yep.
And Josh Allen is currently the QB1 going off the board. So
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm not. I guess I won't have Josh Allen in any of my teams this year, though. Unfortunately,
the interesting thing with Josh Allen is like if you just take his, like if you take the rushing away, right, and you just calculate what he had, based on yards passing and rushing, not rushing, yards passing and then passing touchdowns. He had 4,400. He had 100 less passing yards and 1 less touchdown in a season with 1 more game. So he did regress
last year.
Passing slightly. Went from 69% completion percentage to 63% completion percentage. Through 10 interceptions last year, through 15 interceptions this year. Last year, he had a 6.5% touchdown rate. This year, he had 5.6. So he regressed. Every single year they get further along with Josh Allen, it's not the passing. It's his rushing. They're designing more rushing plays for this guy. 763 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns on the season.
700 rushing yards is crazy.
When you have a quarterback that throws for 4,500 yards and 35 plus touchdowns, they're already finishing high. You talk about a guy like, go look at Kirk Cousins' numbers. Look where Kirk Cousins finished last year. I think it was like QB 14 or 15, somewhere in that range.
He was even higher.
Even higher, probably. But when you look at Josh Allen, you add the 700 plus rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. That's what makes you a top 3 quarterback in fantasy football. I think next year, he's as safe a bet as you can get to be a top 3 quarterback. I do not think he's going to repeat as QB1.
I don't either.
I do think because of the type of quarterback that he is, he does deserve to go off the board first in fantasy football.
He definitely deserves it. There's no question about it.
And I think it's smart for your team, regardless of whether a player deserves to go 1 or not. Like he 100% next season will help your team if you take him first off the board, especially in 6-point touchdown and 5-point touchdown leagues. So, the rushing is just, and this is the lowest total he's also had in like rushing touchdowns in his career. So take that how you will, but they are designing a lot more runs. That's kind of what like everyone talks about Josh Allen being a top 5 quarterback in the NFL and all that stuff. And that's kind of what makes him the top 5 quarterback. Because passing, if you were just to contain this guy in the pocket, passing wise, I don't know if he's like as prolific as a lot of the other passers in the NFL. But what he does with his legs makes him ridiculously good. So anyway, Josh Allen should be your QB1 ranked this year. Unless you want to take a hot take, Rick.
No, I mean, you know how I feel about Josh Allen anyway, so there's not really much more I can add to that. I think he's clearly QB1. I just am not drafting him because I don't think he's going to finish as that 3 years in a row. And where did he go in our early, not our early mock draft, but you took something from I don't remember if it was underdog. I believe it was, underdog. And he was going in the end of the second round, third round.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'm just not trying to take him there. And I like Josh Allen, but
yeah,
it's too early.
Let's see if I have that open in front of me. I do. He went 210.
Was it? Yeah,
and
that's just too early. I couldn't find because I have to like actually join the draft.
Yeah.
So I left it on the calculator, but I know he was at least the first quarterback off the board. So
yeah,
I mean he deserves it without a doubt, and I think he's a great quarterback. But I don't know. It's just hard.
Should
to
he
finish
be somebody that people draft that high or target going into next year? Like, is he gonna end up like people draft him in the second and third round and then he ends up burning people, or is he just not gonna live up to the like?
I don't think you should draft any quarterback in the second or third round. So that's what I'll say about that.
I agree.
It doesn't matter if it's Josh Allen or Mahomes or
unless there's some like ungodly.
Yeah, like a 7-point touchdown league. Passing touchdown, then sure, go get Josh Allen. But otherwise, you're in a normal league. I wouldn't draft any quarterback in the first 2 or even 3 rounds.
The other interesting thing is that a lot of times, like even if you look at like Patrick Mahomes' numbers, like repeating the 35 plus touchdown seasons is not like normal. And so I don't even know, like looking into next year, like obviously there's an extra game, so that kind of weights the numbers a little bit differently, but is he going to be a guy that throws another 36, 37, 38 touchdowns next year? Like, I feel like I'm kind of waiting for that season where Josh Allen, because there's nothing changing. Like, Stefan Diggs is still there.
Yep.
Like, they can
Davis.
Dawson Knox has been good. And I feel like the only way they can go up is up at this point. Because if they draft a quarterback or they bring in another receiver, like I think they're just going to make offensive improvements. So we'll see when the offseason like gets closer to completion. Nothing's really changing for him, but I don't know. I have this like awkward, strange feeling that he's going to like crap on everyone who takes him in the second round.
I don't know if he's going to crap on everyone, but I think he's going to just have like, a good year, a top like 5 finish, and he's going to be in the conversation, but he's not going to be.
Does that hurt you if you draft him in the second? I would say yes.
Yeah, it would. In the second round, yeah.
Now, normally the whole point of this show is consistency. So obviously he was the most consistent. If Josh Allen is good next year, I would go out on a limb and say that he is going to be consistent. In some way, shape, or form. Like he'll always
be
get
consistent.
15 or more fantasy points. Like that's not going to be an issue, especially with the rushing. Like even if he regresses in the passing category, I think that would only improve the rushing area. So like it would be hard unless Josh Allen gets hurt for him not to finish in the top 5, in my opinion. But I feel like you still can get really quality performances out of him. When you talk about the great performances too, he had, which is more than 23 points per game. He had 9 this year out of 17 games, which is great.
That is the part that I think could go down. The quality will stay, and he might get a couple more in that quality range.
Yeah,
but I don't know if he's getting 9 out of 17 for more than 23 fantasy points. That's
hard to do.
It's hard to do. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the next
like 7 or 8.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the next guy, which is Justin Herbert. He had 3 bust games, under 15 points. He had 6 games, same as Josh Allen, for quality performances, 15 to 23 fantasy points a game. He had 8 great performances, more than 23 fantasy points per game, and then quality plus great put together, smack dab 82%, tied with one other, Matt Stafford, who's right after him, who we'll talk about next. So he obviously has had a really great start to his career.
That's almost an understatement.
Understatement. Like he's been really good. I remember watching the last game they played this year against the Raiders when they were trying to make the playoffs, and the amount I wanted to see this kid in the playoffs way more than I want to see the stupid dumb butt Derek Carr and the Raiders. Oh, it sickens me that they made it. But Justin Herbert completed I think it was 6 4th and longs.
Yeah.
Stupid.
He did everything he could in that game. Everything he could.
He is a very, very, very good quarterback. They still got Keenan Allen. Mike Williams is I'm going to say he's out the door.
Okay.
I don't know that the Chargers are going to pay him what he wants to be paid, and I think he's going to end up getting paid a lot because he's a good outside receiver. So fantasy-wise, people will be like, what are you talking about? He's a good receiver. He's a good NFL receiver, so people will pay him that. He always gets 1,000 yards receiving and 5-6 touchdowns. So he will get paid a lot, and I don't know if the Chargers want to give him that money. Him being gone, it would just be old man Keenan Allen with Austin Eckler, which I still think is a good supporting cast. They
will replace Mike Williams if he goes.
Okay,
100%. Whether it's the draft, if they don't want to pay
Mike Williams or go after.
There's also a rumor that this player is probably not going to go there, but they want to pursue Devontae Adams, which would be
freaking hey, dude.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert QB1 at that point.
I agree, he would be QB1. But.
So he was QB2 this year, 23.3 points per game. I don't know how many points he was behind Josh Allen. I can't remember.
He was about 30 points behind.
Okay. All right. How many?
Actually, 20 points.
Did he
20 points?
Did he play a full season or I can't remember?
He did. They both played 17 games.
Okay. All right. Good.
He was 22 points behind Josh Allen.
So for him, I think. Interesting number too. He had 40 dropped passes by his receivers this year, which is number 4 in the NFL.
Oh my gosh, dude! That's what I was saying. I don't know if I had this conversation with you, but I was watching a video on Herbert. And the more deeper you go into the advanced analytics, just shows how better he is. The more analytics you look at, the more you go, wow, that's actually really impressive.
Really good. Honestly, everyone's yelling at each other about Josh Allen. Is he top 2 with Patrick Mahomes? And I'm like, this kid, I don't know, man. If he starts winning games at a high clip. The Chargers and Justin Herbert.
He has to start winning, but
this guy is better than prime Phillip Rivers, way better
already.
Right now, opinion. Currently, way better. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah,
that guy might. He's probably not going to make the Hall of Fame if I would venture to guess. And he had a great career.
I don't think he will, but he did have a great career. Yeah. But he threw 5,000 yards in his second season in the NFL. I know he had an extra game in there, but so what is that in a 16-game season? 4,700 yards, 4,800 yards. That's insane.
The interesting thing about this too is that he's doing all of this. You talk about where he is in the spectrum of success. He's doing all of this with passing yards and passing touchdowns. And he added 300 rushing yards, which is 30 fantasy points, and then I think he had 1 rushing touchdown or 2, 3 rushing touchdowns.
He had 3. Yeah. So but that's still
yeah. But Josh Allen had the 6 rushing touchdowns and the 400 extra rushing yards, so that would do it. But I think this kid has a really good chance of. He's consistent, which is good. He is still young and he's still going up. I want to see improvements this offseason to some areas of the Chargers offense, but this coaching staff is now going into their second year. Justin Herbert's going into his third year. If they add or keep Mike Williams, I think there's only places to go but up for Justin Herbert. I think that he has a really good shot at being QB1 next year, and if I feel psychopathic about it, I'll probably move Herbert.
Rank him as such,
yeah. So he's very. It's so funny. These really good quarterbacks in the NFL now this Wonderlic score used to be really important, and it's now Mahomes was he scored a 12. which is like the dumbest of all quarterbacks.
Allen didn't get a high score, right?
No, and then Justin Herbert got 25, which is 27th percentile. So like this Wonderlic score means nothing to me at this point.
I know. It really,
Mac Jones doesn't even pop up when you look him up.
Didn't who scored like a insanely high one that ended up, was it Baker? Everybody was like, "Oh, look, Baker's actually smart," and then
Baker's actually smart.
Yeah, I'd rather have Baker Mayfield than Josh Allen and Herbert because he's smarter.
Yikes! Yeah, no, I'm trying to look up, see if I can get into. I wish I could see underdog like ADP without paying to get.
You have to like go into the draft. I know Herbert is the 4th quarterback off the board though.
Okay, all right, good, thanks. I was gonna say,
so
I literally had to pay to get into a league just to see the stupid numbers.
On the face football calculator, at least, he's the 4th quarterback off the board. Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Kyler Murray are ahead of him.
Okay.
So I'd take him as the 4th quarterback off the board.
Oh yeah, I think that's great value. That's a really good value, and I think he could end up being the QB1.
Yeah.
So, and the consistency, I think, is the big thing. Like, obviously, he was really consistent this year. But to get a quarterback like, to me, I think he's very similar to Josh Allen, not like in terms of rushing, but in the context of fantasy points and how much he will do that. Because this year, he had 8 great performances, which is 23 more.
Wasn't that his? I mean, even in the real NFL, wasn't his player comp Josh Allen or like something like that?
That's his Big Ben on Player Profiler.
Oh, okay. Well,
gross. But anyway, I love how at the end of players' career you start to get like I guess not with Brady, but a gross stigma. Like,
I know Big Ben in his prime was
Eli Manning back in the day actually was a decent quarterback or a good quarterback in the NFL, and now you look at him because of the last games that he played in the NFL, he's just god awful, and you're like, he blew whole career sucked.
I know. Yeah.
So anyway. But Herbert, 82% of the time being at least getting you a really good performance, is what you need, I think. And I'm starting to, not just because the Superflex leagues, obviously this is important, but I'm starting to see a trend because the quarterback position is starting to score a lot more fantasy points than they ever have. It is now becoming a more crucial position in fantasy football. One where it's like me and Rick were in multiple 12-team leagues together, and it was very hard to stream in one quarterback leagues. It was very hard to stream. And if you can get a quarterback, and I'm not about drafting a quarterback for 2nd or 3rd round, you got to develop real positions, but I'm starting to trend in the direction of maybe it's time we start shifting our focus away from, okay, maybe we can get a late round quarterback, because this year of anyone is probably going to be a really good year to do that. Last year was not. I got Hurts, so that wasn't bad, but you got Trevor Lawrence, you have Justin Fields, Trey Lance is
Trey Lance. Yeah. It's possible this year.
It's possible that, and then there's I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be guys who have a really good shot of ascending this year as opposed to last year. So it might be a good idea to take that late quarterback trend and stick with it. But if you really want to draft Justin Herbert as the 4th quarterback off the board in like the 4th or 5th round, I wouldn't blame you. And I would be tempted at this point.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, Rick, do you want to tell us about the 3rd guy?
The 3rd guy, the Super Bowl champion, Matt Stafford. He kind of had the same numbers as Herbert in terms of his percentage. He had 3 bust games, 7 quality games, so 1 more than Herbert, but he had 1 less great game, which is 23 more face points, but he also had 14 total games with more than 15 face points. So he was someone who was good, and I think he was the guy that we called in the offseason. We were very high on, along with Burrow and Hurts, as guys that you could take as the 10th, 11th, 12th quarterback off the board and be in a good spot. And that's exactly what happened. I think he finished as the QB5, which is a pretty good season. And I don't know how much it's going to change. He is going to get Robert Woods back. Now his left tackle is retiring. There's going to be some losses on defense, especially. So he's going to have some losses. Maybe Odell's probably gone, but Cooper Kupp will at least be there. Cam Akers will be there.
Yeah.
Bobby Trees is still under contract, so he still has some talent there. And if they throw the ball a gazillion times again, like they did this year, he could very well finish as a top 5 quarterback again. I think he's more likely to finish in that 7 to 8 range, though, among quarterbacks, with guys like Lamar potentially playing a full season, Kyler Murray potentially playing a full season, and maybe even Russ, depending on his situation. Could all finish ahead of Stafford, but still a very quality quarterback.
Yeah.
For fantasy and the NFL.
I agree. And I think there's other problems with Matt Stafford that we kind of have to look at. And it's funny to see, like, when you talk about where guys actually ended up finishing overall through 17 games. I'm trying to pull up a number here, and my computer always spazzes out. But you talk about, like, Matt Stafford, he ended up being top 5. Obviously, guys like Rodgers, Prescott, Joe Burrow, they all did not play their 17th game. So I would venture to say that all 3 of those guys, not all. Well, see, that's
2 of the 3.
2 of the 3. Maybe Joe Burrow, maybe not, but 2 of the 3, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, would most likely have passed Matt Stafford, which puts him in the QB 7 or 8 range. But you see him in the top 5. It's interesting to see the consistency chart where, he is number 3 right now with an 82% quality / great performance. And for me, the way that I look at this is, like, all these numbers line up to Matt Stafford. And we knew coming into the season, like, Stafford was going to be a good buy. It was going to be, he was a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round pick in some leagues.
Yes.
And people, it was going to be a quarterback that you could get late. I wish I didn't tell you guys so much to get Tannehill and more to get Matt Stafford, but we still told you.
Oh, yeah, true. Tannehill. True.
But
we were 3 and 4, though. 3 and 4, we are, right?
Yeah.
The quarterbacks.
But anyway, but you draft Matt Stafford late, and this is what you get. You got a efficiency-wise and consistency-wise a top 3 quarterback, and like a top 6 or 7 quarterback overall on the season. The big thing with Matt Stafford, I think, is that this is where you have to buy the trend in the right direction, listen to us in the offseason, and be like, okay, I'm going to get Stafford. A lot of stuff happened this offseason. Stafford's really good. He could be really good on the Rams. The Rams got a lot of really good talent. They're making a run for a championship. This guy's going to end up being good. And buy him then. Now, no. Stop.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Matt Stafford's going to be a bust. I'm not saying he's going to suck. But you are now going to have to pay premium value for a quarterback that doesn't provide any rushing floor. Pretty much. Any rushing floor.
It's going to be relying on all passing.
And relying entirely on the pass on a football team that I'm going to have to say is going to get a little bit worse this year. And to me, it's just like Matthew Stafford is probably my biggest fade at this point.
No, I agree. I probably am with you, even though I still like Stafford. To be fair, right now he is the quarterback 8 off the board, so it's not crazy.
Yeah.
But he is ahead of guys like he is still ahead of Dak and Jalen Hurts, who are 9 and 10.
Think about where
I
we
would
are
take
right
both
now.
those guys over Stafford.
People on Twitter are like, Hall of Famer.
I
In
know.
3 weeks, you're telling me that he's still going to be the QB8?
I don't think so. But
In
we'll
7
see.
months? When the
Because
idiots
people will
start
look
drafting?
at the top 5 finish and Cooper Kupp and everything.
Somebody in our league is going to be like, Matt Stafford, top 5 quarterback. What are you talking about? I'm going to draft him.
Yeah, I could see that.
6th
Could
off the
definitely see
board
that.
in like the 8th round. So, like, to me, it's not really. I don't think 6 or 7 off the board is not a bad pick. To me,
No, but there's quarterbacks that I'd rather have ahead of Stafford.
Yeah,
that he's going to get drafted ahead of.
like I would honestly, and I hate to say this because I think Stafford should be ranked a little bit higher, but I would honestly draft Stafford. Like I would honestly draft like guys like Trevor Lawrence ahead of Matt Stafford.
Well, that's a hot take.
No, it really is. But I honestly would rather have the young player
saying,
like
the
Justin
upside.
Fields, Trey Lance,
Yeah.
the young player.
Yeah,
That can
that
break
could have
out.
a monster season.
If
Yeah.
if
sense.
a gun was held to my head and I needed to win a fantasy season and that were like choose one quarterback, obviously I'm not going to choose Trevor Lawrence.
I would probably choose Trey
Justin
Lance
Fields,
or
Trey Lance, Like you take the consistent quarterback that probably will end up QB7.
Oh well,
but like in my draft
if there's
strategy,
a gun to your head, yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
I'd rather take Trevor Lawrence late than take Matt Stafford at his value.
I think I would too.
Okay,
Trevor Lawrence, we'll see. I will see what they do.
Yeah, that's true. I just think Lawrence is really good.
I do too, but if they're idiots about it, they can ruin him. But
yeah, that's true.
One of those guys for sure is gonna. I think has the possibility of finishing as like a top 5 quarterback in fantasy next year, whether that's Fields, Lance, or Lawrence.
Right.
So I definitely get the argument, and I think if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably take Lance just because of his situation.
Yeah.
Ahead of Stafford, just based on like what they could do. Now Lance could also suck, so that could blow up in my face. But that's the risk I'd be willing to take. But he is consistent. He's solid. If you could take both, that'd be perfect. Go with my old school strategy.
Oh yeah,
like a consistent quarterback, and then like a
that's
Stafford Fields.
It depends too. Like if Stafford ends up being a 10th, 11th round pick, like I'd pull the trigger on that and be better about that. He going off as like the 9th or 10th quarterback off the board, like similar to like Tannehill. I think last year was like top 7, and then this year, he was still going in the 11th or 12th round in some leagues. So, like if Stafford ends up being in that position by the time draft season happens, I'm 100% on board taking Matt Stafford, in that vicinity, and then doing what Rick said and taking a secondary quarterback. I did that this year with Tannehill. Didn't start him one game, started Jalen Hurts the whole year, but similar strategy in that context where, Trey Lance and Justin Fields most likely, not Trevor Lawrence, but Trey Lance and Justin Fields definitely are going to end up being in a conversation where they're probably going to end up like 9th, 10th round draft selections if I had to make a strong guess as to right now. And so if Stafford's in the same conversation as them, I think Stafford can outperform the 9th quarterback off the board.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad selection. But if he's getting taken as the 6th, 7th quarterback off the board, you're buying him at his value. And then if he does inevitably regress a little bit, then you end up in a conversation where Matt Stafford is kind of like, why did I draft him?
In terms of points per game, he was the QB 11.
Yeah, so I just think he's going to be overdrafted and underperform.
He will.
What you want,
especially if he's in that QB like 7-6 range.
Yeah,
getting drafted, that's just way too high.
Quickly, let's move to the next guy, Aaron Rodgers. Same amount of bus games as Matt Stafford. He only played 16, so the percentage is a little bit higher. 5 quality performances, 8 great performances, and 13 quality and great performances, 81%. So he was up there with Allen, Herbert, Stafford, had a really great season. Just when we thought Rodgers was dead 2 years ago, he follows it up with 2 very, very fantastic seasons in fantasy football. There are rumors floating around. I don't know, he might stay in Green Bay. That might be a thing. Either way, he's going to have Devontae Adams with him. Most likely.
Yeah,
he wants to. Rick has heard some really interesting rumors about him possibly going to Tennessee. I
don't think that's going to happen.
I'm curious where Rodgers goes. Wherever he goes, what is the situation for Rodgers in fantasy?
He's not going to go to. I don't think he'll go to a bad situation wherever he goes. But it's going to depend. Like if he goes to the Broncos and people overdraft him, then the hype gets out of control. It's crazy. Then he's going to be overhyped. But if he stays in Green Bay and they do what they actually say they're going to do, which is surround him with the most talent he's ever had, that's their plan. That's what they're trying to pitch to him right now.
Could this be a Brady-like Rodgers thing, where Rodgers
it could
goes
Rodgers
top 3, top 4, 2 straight seasons or something like that, just because he's got a ridiculous, inordinate amount of talent?
If that happens, I could see, like, if they do surround him with a lot of talent, then yes, I think Rodgers is good enough where he will guaranteed finish in the top 5 quarterbacks with, like, if he has Devontae Adams on one side, Mike Williams on the other, and some good slot receiver, one of the best O-lines in the league, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, like that.
Right.
That's possible where he could finish as a top 5 quarterback again. If he goes somewhere else, it's going to really depend on situation, and we'll have to see what it looks like. As of right now, he's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's the 6th quarterback off the board, so that's not bad.
No,
I think I'd probably take him in that range. What are your thoughts on him?
I think he's. I hate it because I feel like he's a risky player.
You feel like that, but it's really
he's really been
solid the last 2 years.
It's a conservative take. It's a conservative pick.
It is.
You take Rodgers and it's all right, this guy's gonna be okay. He's gonna be good. He's gonna get the job done at quarterback. But it's okay. So here's my question: Rodgers through 16 games, 336. Matt Stafford through 17 games, 346.
Yeah,
obviously,
not a huge difference.
Pending what happens in the offseason for both of these quarterbacks, I feel like what Rodgers is going to do, fantasy football-wise, is going to be equivalent to what Stafford does.
Yeah.
And if Stafford's the 8th or 9th quarterback off the board and Rodgers is 5 or 6, the better value is Matt Stafford. And you go with Stafford.
I do think I would take Rodgers over Stafford, but
yeah, if they both were at the same pick and you had to choose one quarterback,
yeah, I'm taking
obviously,
Rodgers.
Ranking wise, I would put Rodgers ahead of Stafford. I get
what you're saying though.
They're both going to finish in the same vicinity, so value wise, I'd rather take Stafford, later than take Rodgers earlier.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair. I will say Rodgers won MVP this year, and he finished as the QB6.
Stolen from Tom Brady, by the way.
Yeah, I think Brady should win too. But
I don't know why he Rodgers got it. That whole take didn't happen until the season ended.
I know,
and it was Rodgers MVP. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Tom Brady
led the NFL in yards and touchdowns.
Why are we giving it? Why did they give it to him?
It's because he only threw 4 interceptions. That was the big thing.
Oh, freaking give me a break with that garbage.
So he finished as the QB6, and now again 4 interceptions. It's crazy. And he won MVP, which means he would have to have another MVP type season to finish as QB5 or 6. I feel like.
Yeah, that's a little bit absurd.
I don't know if that's gonna happen. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers, so he'll be in this discussion. But probably closer to 7 or 8. And if you take him as the quarterback off the board,
his type of quarterback is starting to.
There is one guy though that's going to get really overdrafted that we haven't talked about, but even more so than Stafford or Rodgers. I don't think we will talk about.
So it's you talk about Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Dak Prescott, even Joe Burrow a little bit, Jalen Hurts. These guys can use their legs to get rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Joe Burrow a little less. But you got these Stafford, Rodgers guys that don't rush at all. So in order for them to be top 5, top 6, they have to have the best season of their life.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about, obviously, TB12 on this list is 5. He is a retired quarterback. I'll just ramble off the numbers really fast. He had 5 bust games, 2 quality games, 10 great games, 12 overall quality great games, 71% of the time. Tom Brady was a really good fantasy quarterback. There's rumors about him maybe coming back right before the season starts. I don't know that Brady wants to go through the pomp and circumstance of retiring twice. So I'm not sure that he would come back unless he gets oh my God, I want to play. Even if that happens, it's going to be with a new team, a different set of weapons. I don't want to doubt Tom Brady again, but I really don't think that it would be a year for him to be good fantasy-wise. So anyway, we'll just move past Tom Brady. 6th guy, Patrick Mahomes, 5 bust games, 4 quality games, 8 great games, 12 quality great games. Give me your thoughts on Patrick Mahomes, Rick.
He's Mahomes. And he didn't even have a great year this year. Remember in the beginning of the season, especially, he was really, really struggling.
Yeah.
And he still finished as the QB4 in a year. So he's someone who you would think in theory could be a good value because we know these types of quarterbacks, like we were just talking about Josh Allen, the beginning of the show, saying like how he's the QB1 2 years in a row. So this year he's probably going to finish just like QB4 or 5 and take a step back, like Mahomes did this year.
Mahomes is due.
And then maybe he's due for like a top 2 finish, or
He
potentially
hasn't been QB1
finish.
since the 50 touchdown season.
Right. So it's possible. But he's getting drafted as the QB2. So it's like people, it doesn't even matter.
This is not good.
And there's rumors that the Chiefs will add another receiver this year, so that could help him. But he's Mahomes. Like, there's really not too much to say. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback every single
Is
year.
it reasonable for me to say Mahomes 1 rankings, Justin Herbert 2, Josh Allen 3?
It's spicy.
Okay.
You could do it though. I'm not telling you. You should.
Josh Allen probably should be 2. Like Mahomes, Allen, Herbert.
Yeah, that sounds about.
But yeah,
right.
no, Rick pegged it. Mahomes is Mahomes. The interesting thing about Patrick Mahomes, did he have a kid?
That's a random question. I don't know.
Yeah, his girlfriend's pregnant. Okay, so that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
I'm like, when has Mahomes had the 2 next to his name?
Oh yeah, true.
I've never seen that before in my life until I looked at the sheet.
Patrick Mahomes the second,
Is his dad Patrick Mahomes too?
I guess.
He played in the
I don't know.
MLB, I think.
I know. Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyway, I don't care. But yeah, no, Patty's due. I think Mahomes is due.
He's due, especially if they get.
He's transformed into a different kind of quarterback. He in the first year he was playing, he was kind of like this ridiculous, prolific, get out of the pocket, throw sidearm passes, looking across the field, ridiculous like quarterback. And people are starting to not figure it out, but they're starting to learn and come up with schemes to stop Patrick Mahomes. And so he's had to learn how to take the little stuff and the little chunk plays and the underneath routes and all that stuff, which he's doing obviously very well with because he's Patrick Mahomes. But he's transforming into a different type of quarterback, and I don't know that unless they do bring in a crap load of talent, that they already have a crap load of talent, but unless they bring it, like say they bring in Allen Robinson or something like that, I don't know that a 50-plus touchdown season is going to come for Patrick Mahomes for a little while, which is, I think, what he would need to do in order to pass guys like Josh Allen just because they rush a lot.
I will say last year, 2020, Mahomes was ahead of Allen in points per game. Barely. It was 25.32 versus 25.52. So it was by 0.2 points per game, but he was ahead of Josh Allen in points per game. So it's possible.
We finally got some news on Joe Burrow. He
Oh,
did
yeah? What
suffer
was
a
it?
knee injury. It won't require
that
surgery.
means-
Based
So
on
it
the
wasn't
initial
like he
tests.
tore his ACL.
He'll have to rehab. It's a sprain, so it's an MCL sprain. That dog
Yeah.
went in and played through an MCL sprain and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he would have
Love Joe
been.
Burrow. So anyway, yeah, there's nothing else left on Mahomes. The show's going kind of overtime a little bit.
A little bit. Quarterbacks, man.
Yeah. And you know what it was? A Super Bowl. 20 minutes on the Super Bowl. But anyway. Yeah, so those are the top 5 quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. We also have Tom Brady a part of that list. Some honorable mentions here: Jalen Hurts, and this is it's really interesting because I feel like the Eagles are buying in and they're with Jalen Hurts, like they're going to give him more opportunity. If he starts all 16, 17 games next year, like obviously he still has that top. Where did he finish this year? 6.
Finished as QB9.
QB9 and how many games? 15. Based on a points per game.
Yeah, in
basis,
points per game,
finished
he was
top
6th.
5. A lot of the season, he was top 5, top 6, until he missed the 2 games. So he had 80% quality, great games. So that's up there with the top 4. Fantasy-wise, Jalen Hurts, great quarterback. Real life-wise, kind of blows. He's like one bad mistake away from just getting benched altogether every single week. So I definitely don't feel great. Like if he's a 11th, 12th round pick, like all on board. Don't draft him. What the hell? But
round 2.
Burrow, interesting guy. He had 75% of his games were quality or great, but he only had 4 great games. 8 of his games were quality.
Burrow is currently being drafted as the QB6 right now,
Yeah, that's way too high.
I believe.
Way too high.
QB7, but he's only a pick behind Rodgers. So he's ahead. He's right behind Lamar too. So he's ahead of Stafford, Dak, Jalen
The
Hurts.
interesting thing about Joe is that he just
Russell
got out of his
Wilson.
second year. He's going into his third year, so there's going to be a little bit of improvement.
And he's probably going to get improved offensive line.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Receiving core, Higgins, Boyd, Chase. Good there. Uzama's a decent tight end. Good there. Joe Mixon, still the running back. Good there. So if they focus their entire effort on the offensive line this year, I do think that Joe Burrow can make sizable improvements. Come back to me in like August and ask me about Joe Burrow because I don't know. No, I'm not drafting him 6. That's for sure.
No, I'm not. I'm not either. I would love Joe Burrow on my team, but
in the real QB1 for 2022,
in the real NFL, I mean,
7 quality at great games, 41% of the time.
Yeah. He should be drafted ahead of Mahomes.
Go get yourself. The real QB. Mac Jones had the same amount of quality or great games as Tua Tagovailoa.
It's not good. Tua only played in... How many games did Tua play in?
I don't remember.
It wasn't a lot. I think he missed like 3 or 4 games, so... But still.
How many games did Lamar miss? Lamar Jackson, really quick, because we got to finish the show. I'm not letting this go over an hour.
I can pull it up real quick. Lamar Jackson played in 12 games, so he missed what?
Okay,
5?
so just reaching the qualifying standard. He had 3 bust games, 5 quality games, 4 great games, 9 total quality great games. 75% of his games were quality or great.
That's decent.
That's pretty good. Where's he going?
Let's see. Lamar is currently the quarterback 5.
Sheesh. Can you guys lay off? I'd like to get him for cheap.
Well, the guy you could get for cheap right now looks like Dak. Dak is the QB9.
What was his?
And Russell Wilson is the QB11.
He had 11 quality or great games, and 8 of them were great for Dak. He just had 5 busts.
You know how Russell Wilson, like, every year gets drafted as like a top 5 quarterback and then finishes as like QB7?
Get right.
But this year it's actually valuable because he's the QB11.
And he had 10 quality or great games as well, 71% of the time.
Yeah.
So
the Dak or Russ are the 2 value guys right now.
Yeah,
but that's as of February.
Russ and Dak, they can rush, but they don't, and it's kind of frustrating for fantasy, but is what it is. Those guys, yeah, I want to see where Russ ends up. Like, it's more than likely he stays in Seattle, but like if he ends up somewhere different, that could rejuvenate him back to his top 5 days.
Yes, and it's not like
Dak
he was
should be
like
top 5. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Dak Prescott. I'm done. I'm done with Dak. Sorry. You had
I'm
me.
not done. I'm done with him.
I'm
being
a Dallas.
I'm
I'm over here reacting like a Dallas Cowboy fan.
I'm done with Dak in terms of him being like in the same category as like for fantasy like Josh Allen. Like he's not in that category, but he's good as like a low end QB1.
I guess. All right, we gotta wrap this show up. You're right though. I shouldn't just completely write off Dak, but I'm just done. I'm done with the garbage.
Done with the
garbage. I think I had him in 1 league. Traded the whole ship for him in a Superflex league. But anyway, we got wide receiver consistency charts tomorrow. See you later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.